Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Bible Illustrated Hands. I have finally found my today's question comes from a girl belonging to the wild. It is surprisingly hard to find step-by-step process of how to become a monk or a nun in the Orthodox Church. Could you make a video on that? I'm discerning to become a nun, but it is not still set in stone. I'm still checking my options. Thank you for your question, girl belonging to the wild. I will try to present a process of how to become a nun or a monk. The process is exactly the same, except that probably every monastery will have slightly different rules, and this of course depends on the bishop, on the jurisdiction, on the particular church, and so on and so forth. The best info is to actually check with the monastery you're thinking of joining. Okay, so you're a practicing Orthodox girl or a guy, whatever, and you feel called to become a monk. In all probability, you already know which monastery you want to join, and this is something that you probably have to discuss with your spiritual father. In fact, it is imperative that you do, or in the absence of if you don't have a spiritual father, you have to discuss it with your parish priest just in case, so he would give you some practical advice. Next, you go to the monastery you plan on joining, and you tell to the abbot or the abbess directly, I am discerning monastic life. This is the beginning of the process practically. You will be probably asked to stay in monastery for some time. I do not venture to dare to say how much, but it might be, I don't know, a week or even more. And I highly suggest you pick a monastery where you already know some people and so on. Don't simply, as he would say in Serbian, land with a parachute to a monastery. You have no idea how things are going there because it might present some issues later on. So the first rank in Orthodox monasticism is called a novice, or in at least in Serbian it is iskušenik. That is the ones who are, well, the literal translation would be those who are tempted, but more proper translation would be those who are under a trial, because you're basically trying whether you're a good fit for a monastery. And this is not only to see whether you are a good fit for a monastery, it is also for the monastery to see if you're a good fit for them. It goes both ways. You might feel extremely called to Orthodox monasticism, but that might, your prospective future brotherhood or sisterhood might disagree with your specific presence. Okay, but joking aside, you would become essentially a novice. There is no particular ritual associated with becoming a novice. The sole thing that's sort of special when becoming a novice is that you would probably start to dress differently. Again, this is different from jurisdiction to jurisdiction, but from my experience, novices tend to dress in black clothing, and that's about it. Women would wear headscarves, but these are not the same as klobuks or veils that nuns generally wear. But they still sort of set you apart from other ladies in the church, except, those ladies who are always sort of wearing black, and, when they visit a monastery, you really can't tell them apart from novices. How long you stay a novice? Again, I have heard 3 years. This, again, might really depend on multiple factors. The job of the novice is, again, to see whether he or she is fit for monastery. He or she will learn the rule of the monastery, attend the services, do the obediences, which is also very important, because monasteries have to sustain themselves. After all, none of us are angels. We do not hover without need for water, electricity, heat, food, what have you. However, from what I know, novices generally aren't really all that expected to attend absolutely all of the services of a monastery. However, they're very much recommended that they do, because that is what their ultimate aim is. once this period of novicehood, however long it may last, is complete, then comes the next major step, and that is becoming a rassophore. Now, that comes from rasa, at least in Serbian, and probably some very similar sounding word in Greek and Russian, which is this long sleeved robe that rassophores wear. Rassophores do not give any vows, however, they are tonsured, you know. In the same way as in baptism, 4 locks of hair would be cut on your head in the shape of a cross. This basically cements your dedication to monasticism. Novices can leave the monastery whenever, you know. However, with rassophores, they're sort of expected to stay monks, and they incur spiritual penalties if they decide to abandon their you know, life's dedication. This tonsure is performed by a priest. However, it is a rule that only a priest of the same monastic level can bestow an equal or lower level. So, for example, stavrophore, a priest can bestow stavrophore levels and lower to monks. And, for example, great schema, hero monk can practically bestow all of the levels. There is sole exception to this, and who is always the exception in the Orthodox Church by the bishops, of course. So, regardless of which rank the bishop has, he can bestow on level, all monastic levels on whoever they want, you know. So, once this tonsure is finished, the rassophore is clothed in this long-sleeved robe called rasa. Still, they continue, you know, in obediences, in humility, in prayer rules, and so on. Once the abbot or abbess thinks that the candidate is ready, they are ready to become the full-fledged monks. This involves, you know, again, a tonsure. The person is given a prayer rope, a wooden cross, and a beeswax candle. This candle, they should retain all 3 of these. And these candles should burn on the day they're lit during the tonsure service, and they're expected to be lit again when that monk dies. And that cross that they're given, they're supposed to keep it in the right corners, and they're supposed to be buried with them in hand. This is the, you know, full monasticism that people are aiming for. A new name is given to that person. Sometimes this is chosen by the abbot or the bishop. Sometimes there is a consultation with the candidate. Sometimes there is not. And there are some cases when a person receives a name that, how should I put it, is sometimes problematic in a certain language. I don't want to give you a more specific example. Sometimes I know at least one monk who received the exact same name that they have in their secular station of life. So I don't want to list names, but okay. There are cases when people decide to stay novices or rassophores throughout their lives out of humility. I know a very elderly lady who's a novice in one of Serbian monasteries, and I have to share a story with her, which I witnessed personally. That is why I don't want to name the monastery. So we finished serving the daily liturgy, and I was holding that bowl with antidoran, and this young nun came, and at the same time that very elderly novice. And when they approached the antidoran, the elderly novice sort of shoved, but so gently, but still shoved the nun, and that nun went, "You're not going anywhere!" And she grabbed her and basically threw her to the side, and the priest was, "Oh, come on, ladies, come on, you know, relax." Oh, yeah, I forgot to turn off the notification. It is what it is. I'm not going to record this again. So, and you know, the novice was very wise. So the next day, again, there's the liturgy, and again, two of them approach. However, this time the novice goes like, "Oh, come on, you go first. You're so important," you know. But in that elderly way, you know, with much less snide than I can convey. And the nun was like, you know, wallowing in shame. So anyway, I hope I was of some use to you. Again, it is probably the best that you actually call some monastery that you've attended, or simply send them an email. How to become a nun, you know, that is always the best. This is just some brief outline that might not apply as regards to certain specifics. In general, it's okay, but again, it really depends from monastery to monastery, jurisdiction to jurisdiction. Thank you for taking time to listen to this, and see you guys hopefully in many new other videos. Bye!